might not peg Switzerland as being a sporting powerhouse. However, the country has a surprising sporting heritage. But what has this got to do with the car I'm driving today? Because today I'm driving a Citroën 2 chevaux, a 2CV. Well, let me explain it to you. Well, 2CV is French for 2 chevaux, which is 2 horses or 2 HP.
The 2CV was also called an umbrella on wheels, but I call today a racket on wheels. And if you're wondering why it's called like that, well, look for yourself. The most popular Swiss sports are not only skiing, curling, mountain climbing or swinging, which is not what you might think it is, but it is a kind of wrestling. No, the list of popular Swiss sports wouldn't be complete without mentioning tennis. Home of Roger Federer, Martina Hingis and Stanislas Wawrinka, Switzerland certainly punches above its weight on court.
But I have forgotten to mention Denyse Manfrini, who is the actual number 1 in Swiss tennis at the moment. Well, she is, in her age group. Further is she the president of the tennis club Agno, near the airport of Lugano.
And Denyse, being classic herself, also drives an iconic classic car, a Citroën 2 chevaux, a 2CV. Hi, my name is Cor, and welcome to my channel, Driving with Gloves. I always drive with driving gloves. Your question might be, why does he drive with gloves? And my answer is, why not?
A radial tire is a particular design of vehicular tire. In this design, the court plies are arranged at 90 degrees to the direction of travel, or radially.
The first radial tire designs were patented in 1914 by Hamilton and Sloper in London. No actual products were created. But Michelin in France designed, developed, patented and commercialized the radial tire. Michelin owned the leading automaker Citroën, so they introduced the revolutionary new radial tire with the launch of the Citroën 2 chevaux in 1948.
Because of the significant advantages in durability and fuel economy, the radial tire technology spread quickly in Europe and Asia in the 1950s and 1960s.
But not so in America, because companies like Dunlop kept to the bias tire, well, at least until 1976, when the radial tire became standard. But at least Dunlop is still producing tennis balls. But enough about tennis. Let's talk about cars.
Both the design and the history of the 2CV mirror the Volkswagen Beetle in significant ways. Conceived in the 1930s to make motor cars affordable to regular people for the first time in their countries, both went into large-scale production in the late 1940s, featuring air-cooled boxer engines at the same end as their driven axle. There was a big difference between the cars though. The German had more power and had the engine in the rear. The French, however, had the engine in the front and had less power, but was way lighter. But both were riding on exactly the same 2400mm wheelbase and using a platform chassis to facilitate the production of derivative models, like the bus for the Beetle and the accordion for the 2CV.
Just like the Beetle, the 2CV became not only a million seller, but it is also one of the few cars in history to continue a single generation in production for over 4 decades.
As I mentioned before, the 2CV was often called an umbrella on wheels. The fixed profile convertible bodywork featured a full-width canvas rollback sunroof and until 1955 even stretched to cover the car's boot, reaching almost down to the car's rear bumper.
Normally, convertibles are way more expensive as they're close for Ryans, but not in the case of the 2CV. Originally they planned to build the 2CV out of aluminium, but just after World War II, aluminium was simply too expensive, so they made it out of very thin steel. But even steel was too expensive after World War II, so they replaced the roof by fabric. And as I told you before, until 1955, the canvas even covered the boot. To open the roof is as simple as opening and closing an umbrella. But umbrella on wheels is not the only nickname for the 2CV. Because of its looks, it was also called the tin snail. And the Dutch called it een lelijke eend, after the fairy tale of Hans Christian Andersen, the ugly duckling. And the Germans copied the Dutch, so they called it the ente, the duck.
Citroën used survey results to prepare a design for a low-price vehicle that would enable 4 people to transport 50 kilograms of farm goods to a market at 50 kilometers an hour, if necessary, across muddy, unpaved roads. In fuel economy, the car would use no more than 3 liters per 100 kilometers. One design parameter required that customers be able to transport eggs across a freshly plowed field without breakage.
The 2CV has a one-of-a-kind suspension with a long travel that connects the front and the rear wheels and gives the car a very soft ride. So let's find out if the story about the eggs is true. I think I've proved now that the story about AX is true.
Avant j'étais une forteresse, avant je n'avais pas de faiblesse, mais les choses ont changé avec toi. Avant je n'avais besoin de rien.
So the 2CV featured an overall low cost of ownership, simplicity of maintenance, an easily serviced air-cooled engine, minimal fuel consumption, and it could even be started when the battery is empty. Between 1948 and 1990, more than 3.8 million 2CVs were produced.
2CV-based delivery vans known as Fourgonnette, the Ami, the Diane, the Acadian and the Mehari, in total Citroën manufactured over 9 million of the 2CVs and its derivative models.
The 2CV was even so famous that James Bond drove a yellow one in For Your Eyes Only. Well, of course, Citroën seized the moment and launched immediately a yellow 2CV 007 version with even stickers of bullet holes on it. Most most people associate Aston Martin with 007. Well, some of them remember the Lotus Esprit. It was exactly this Lotus Esprit which was blown up. So James Bond didn't have another choice than to take the Citroën 2CV. So it is actually a Bond car I'm driving today. But other films besides James Bond featured the 2CV. The genius French comedy star Louis de Funès was a passenger in a 2CV driven by a nun. Actually, the 2CV is way cooler than you might think it is. It is extremely durable and fast if you drive it through the desert. Look at these people who are driving a 2CV in a rally through the Sahara Desert. If you call the normal 2CV a weird car, then you will be surprised how weird the Sahara was. It had one engine in the front to drive the front wheels, but no prop shaft to the rear, but a complete second engine to drive the rear wheels. And if you're wondering about the price of such a genius solution, well, it's quite simple to guess. 2 engines, so double the price of a normal 2CV. By the way, the petrol tank was underneath the front seats. Between 1960 and 1971, 694 were built. In the 2CV there are no window winders. Instead you have a hinged window which you can open only in the front. In the rear you cannot open the windows. The nickname umbrella on wheels is not so wrong after all. You even have an umbrella shifter. The 2CV has inboard brakes to reduce the unsprung weight. It is air-cooled, so the engine is very light and durable. Everything about the 2CV is very simple, durable and inexpensive. Even for taking off the body panels, there were no tools needed. The body panels slide off. Even with an empty battery, you could crank start the engine, as I showed you earlier in this video. So all in all, the 2CV is an extraordinary car which unfortunately is not made anymore. But it has a genius concept. Space for 4 people, very light, durable, extremely cheap to maintain. Not only if repairs are coming up, but also by using little petrol. It's a pity that heavy electric cars are getting popular these days and that we do not seem to learn from the past. Thank you very much for watching this episode about the Citroën 2 Chevaux, the 2CV. Special thanks goes to Denyse Manfrini, who is the owner of this beautiful car. She is further the president of the tennis club Agno near Lugano in the south of Switzerland. I hope to see you soon in a new episode from Driving with Gloves. Thank you very much.